Hello, this is SkyCushion9, and welcome to Transsistance, a series of videos that talks about many of the topics involved with transitioning, from the point of view of a future medical student and a male to female transsexual. Over the course of these videos, I'll help describe the physical, medical, and other aspects about transition, ranging from the anatomy involved, to hormone replacement therapy, to the various surgeries. I hope that with this series of videos I can help educate both transsexuals who are considering transitioning, as well as those who would like to just better educate themselves about an important event and undertaking in the transsexual world. With that, let's get started. Inevitably, when a person decides to transition, they have to put some kind of thought into surgery. Plastic surgery is currently the only reliable method of removing or altering parts of the body that hormones alone cannot change. In other words, the only way to counter the build-not-break principle. However, a person must often weigh the risks and costs of surgery against the potential benefits, and this decision-making process can start as soon as a person decides to transition to well into transitioning, and can last for quite some time. A notable number of transsexuals do decide to not undergo surgery, either due to lack of finances, lack of time, or the fact that the person has reached a satisfactory body image through hormones alone. However, those not satisfied with the changes brought about by hormone replacement therapy often do elect for surgery in order to reach a more comfortable body image. Of course, from the outside, when many people hear about transsexual surgeries, thoughts tend to go to the big one, sexual reassignment surgery. However, there are a number of other surgeries that transsexuals will opt to do in order to further bring their body in line with their desired gender. These secondary surgeries are the kind that help a person present more physically analogous to their desired gender, but do not aid in allowing a person to legally change their gender, something only sexual reassignment surgery currently has the capability of doing. These surgeries tend to be far less physically intensive and less expensive than sexual reassignment surgery, which is why it isn't unheard of for a transsexual to undergo some of these secondary surgeries, but never elect for an SRS, especially on the female to male side due to reasons I'll discuss later. However, it is also known for a person to go through their transition and have their SRS without ever having any kind of secondary surgery performed. It honestly depends upon the person. Like before, male to females have their own individual lists of secondary surgeries. So for the sake of keeping things clean, I'll start with the male to female secondary surgeries, discussing what's involved with each surgery, risks, benefits, etc. Surgery number 1. Facial feminization surgery. Probably the most straightforward name for a surgery out of either side of the transsexual highway, facial feminization surgery aims to alter the skull of a male to female in a way that presents more feminine. As stated in a prior video, testosterone and estrogen have their own unique effects on the development of the skeletal system, and the skull is of no exception. During childhood, the skulls of both a male and female are roughly the same. However, on onset of puberty, the now large presence of testosterone causes the male skull to differentiate from the female's, which actually remains childlike in nature as estrogen does not alter the shape of the skull. Testosterone often causes prominent brow lines, larger and more square-shaped jawbones, and a more sloped and rugged forehead, among other effects, but these three tend to be the more noticeable and focused upon, which becomes a problem for a male and female. When a person undergoes facial feminization surgery, a surgeon goes in and alters these physical landmarks, and possibly others not listed, to make them appear more female. This often involves them simply shaving down the skeletal tissue of the skull and reshaping or reconstructing the skull to produce things like a rounder chin, smoother forehead, and a less prominent brow line. A full facial feminization surgery can also include things such as hairline advancement, eyebrow repositioning, nose reconstruction, and trachea reduction. While this might not sound like a huge improvement on paper, those who have very male-presenting skulls often find great improvement after doing the surgery. In fact, as it should be expected, results for facial feminization surgery tend to be better the more the patient's original skull shape was masculine. So male to females who have smaller skulls and somewhat round chins already will not find as great a benefit. After completing facial feminization surgery, patients are often placed in a head wrap, and for those with work to the nose and nasal packing, for a week, likely less. Swelling and pain tend to be common side effects, however risk of infection and blood clots are still things to be noted. People often have a quick recovery time, but swelling and other minor complications can take a few months, around 3 or so, to fully clear up. Surgery number 2. Breast augmentation. As stated in a previous video again, unless one was gifted with great genetics and even greater luck, a male to female typically doesn't develop breasts larger than a B cup, and even a B cup being optimistic in many cases. As one can expect, this leaves a lot of male to females dissatisfied with their breasts, and the solution to this is the same for many other genetic women: breast enlargement. A boob job, in other words. This procedure is very pervasive in modern pop culture and society in general. However, its title and ultimate goal are probably the least complicated things about this procedure, as a person considering breast enlargement has many factors to consider. For starters, the type of implant they get. The two more commonly used kinds of implant are silicone and saline filled. Saline tends to be the more considered one by surgeons in America due to silicone implants being banned in the early 90s by the FDA due to potential medical concerns. And while this ban was removed in many cases in 2007, many in the US are still somewhat hesitant to use them. Note, countries like the United Kingdom have no such ban on silicone, and in fact is still the preferred method over there. Saline-filled implants have the advantages of being able to change their size even when already inside the patient, since saline is a fluid, and are safer to deal with in the event of rupture. However, saline implants tend to feel firmer and provide a less natural appearance. Silicone, on the other hand, is typically softer in nature and provides a more realistic shaping for the breast. However, as they can only come in one pre-made size at a time, they require larger incisions, are more expensive, and have the specter of that FDA ban behind them. After that, another thing to consider is the location for surgeons to make their incision. Implant incisions can be made either inframammary, which is under the breast, periareolar, under the nipple areola, axillary, which is the armpit, or in some cases, umbilical. Periareolar has been known to be a very popular location for surgeons, especially if using the smaller saline implants. However, many transsexual patients do not have adequately large areola for this to be an option, and this incision site also has a strong risk of damaging the nerves of the nipple and breast. Inframammary incisions are the other popular and typically more preferred choice, as it can be used by either kind of implant, is the site where surgeons cut if the implant must be removed, and is the easiest incision site for a surgeon to ensure proper placement of the implant. However, the major downside is that the scar is in a very visible location. For those who wish to avoid scarring the breast, the axillary site is the preferred method. However, this, as well as the umbilical site, are less likely to guarantee proper placement of the implant, being so far away from the breast. The final type, umbilical, can only be used with saline implants and can have potential infection issues. Beyond this, one also has to decide how the implant is placed in the body, with options being in front of the muscle, slightly embedded in the muscle, or wholly embedded in the muscle. Implants in the front of the muscle tend to involve lesser recovery times and create a more natural looking breast. However, such implants tend to sag and bottom out, and can also interfere with mammograms. Implants placed into the muscle are more supported by the muscle, so they do not lose their shape as easily. Plus, muscular implants lessen the risk of capsular contracture, an immune response where the body forms a layer of connective tissue around the implant and shrinks it, making the implant smaller and can make the breast feel firmer. Finally, the shape and size of the implant must be considered. Implants can come in either round or tear-shaped. Round implants can produce a more natural acting and looking breast in relation to gravity and activity in general, but gives them a less anatomically correct round shape. Whereas shaped implants do create a more natural neutral shape, but are supposed to be stationary, which means that they can look odd when lying down, and if they rotate in the body, can produce very unnatural shaped breasts. As for size, implants can come in a multitude of sizes, measured by the cc's of a substance. Many who elect for implants often go for oversized implants, which can cause much discomfort, but may also make the mistake of getting implants too small, which forces them to undergo more surgery should they wish to go bigger. There is actually even more to this, but for the sake of time I'll leave it at this. If you need more information, ask a plastic surgeon or consult Google. Surgery number 3. Laryngoplasty. I hesitate to mention this procedure in this video for reasons I'll get into, but I want to avoid being called out for leaving something out of discussion, so I'll give some info on laryngoplasty. The voice box is another major concern for the male to female transsexuals, as they cannot develop a permanent female voice. The current surgical answer to this problem is the use of laryngoplasty, which is normally used to improve weak or erratic voices. Concerning male to females, the surgeon goes in and essentially shaves down the vocal cords to give them a thickness similar to that of a genetic female. The reason I hesitate mentioning this surgery is that it doesn't have the best track record. While some patients have noted an improved vocal tone, a majority note little or no change in their voice at all, and there is a strong risk of the patient going mute as a direct result. Laryngoplasty, as used for transsexuals, is still a rather new procedure though, so it has the opportunity for improvement, but at this point in time, you're much better off with speech therapy. In relation to the larynx, however, many male to female transsexuals often have Adam's apple reductions. The Adam's apple is a portion of cartilage that develops in front of the larynx in genetic males, as testosterone causes its development, and has minimal involvement in the production of the voice. The presence of an Adam's apple can potentially out a person, so a number elect for surgeons to surgically shave it down, typically having minimal side effects, but such procedure can harm the larynx in rare cases. In either event, it is a much safer and much more reliable procedure, but definitely an optional one. Surgery number 4. Orchiectomy. Sexual reassignment surgery is often the ultimate goal for male to females. However, many feel that they never can get this surgery done due to severe monetary demands, as sexual reassignment surgery can easily top $20,000 in price. However, male to female transsexuals have a stopgap option that can be done that can essentially shut down the male reproductive system, but still leave the door open for sexual reassignment surgery. Orchiectomy. The medical translation of orchiectomy is the surgical removal of the testicles. As we should know by now, the testicles are the body's major source of testosterone, and while they're still in the body, estrogen taken through hormone replacement therapy must compete with it. And in fact, such levels of testosterone can actually limit the benefits of hormone replacement therapy. Removing the testicles has the effect of lowering the natural testosterone levels of the body, which means that a lower dose of estrogen is necessary, but also means that the patient no longer has to take any anti-androgen pills. These changes mean less monthly strain on the wallet, but have the more important benefit of no longer taxing the liver with the anti-androgen and higher levels of estrogen, as both must be processed through the liver before being used in the body. As a result, the patient is at a much less risk of liver damage as those who undergo hormone replacement therapy for prolonged periods of time. Since only the testicles are removed and the vas deferens sealed shut, the surgery is much cheaper than sexual reassignment surgery and has a much shorter recovery time. However, it still comes with its share of downsides, specifically concerning sexual reassignment surgery. Contrary to logic, some surgeons will actually charge more for sexual reassignment surgery when concerning patients who have gone through orchiectomy due to a general lack of available tissue. And if the orchiectomy is done improperly, it may become impossible for a surgeon to perform SRS, although keep in mind this is a rare occurrence. The issue is that the scrotum shrinks over time due to the absence of the testicles, and if a person waits several years before getting SRS, the scrotum may have shrunken so small that a surgeon cannot get much tissue from it, resulting in the surgeon having to get skin grafts from other locations like the colon, which can be very painful and have a host of downsides. Male to females considering orchiectomies will have to carefully consider the risk if they aim to have an SRS done eventually. And with that, I've covered what I wanted to concerning male to female secondary surgeries. If there are any surgery procedures that I didn't mention and you want me to talk about them, let me hear about it in the comments section below. As for now, this is Guy Christian 9, this has been Transsistance, and in the next episode, I will talk about the female to male secondary surgeries. I'll see you then.